So when you want to use the keyboard, what do? Well, I think everybody knows that we can simply press the key. So if I want to type ABC, I'll press the A key, the B key, and then the C key one at a time. What you may not have known, unless of course you happen to do it on accident, is holding down a key repeats that key entry. Now you can adjust how long of a delay there is before it starts to repeat and then how fast it repeats. And these are some of the keyboard settings that we'll talk about in the next lesson. Also know that there are special key combinations. When I just said you wanted to type ABC, I said you would press A and release it, then B and release it, and C and release it, and that would type those 3 letters. But sometimes you actually want to hold down multiple keys at the same time. For example, when I said you could do Alt-F for the File menu, you want to press and hold the Alt key and then press the F key while you're still holding Alt in order to do that. And other things, for example, Control-Alt-Delete, which is a very common combination to do things like restarting your computer, you need to hold down all 3 of those keys at the same time. Anytime you want to do some plus sign between it, and that's how you know that you should be holding them down instead of pressing them individually. Alt plus the letter key, for example, Alt-F as I mentioned, is a common combination, most often seen to access a menu instead of having to use the mouse. The Control key plus a letter key, such as Control-P, Control-S, or Control-O, is going to do some type of system command, like printing, saving, or opening a file. And then kind of the granddaddy of all key combinations to know, Control-Alt-Delete, when shown this way, means that you're going to hold down all 3 of those keys at the same time in order to execute whatever needs to happen. In this case, it will give you the option to restart your computer. Now that you're familiar with some of those, let's take just a few seconds to see how they actually can work using a keyboard on our computer system itself. From the Windows desktop, I'm going to double left-click on my Project Files folder. And then I'm going to double-click the Mouse and Keyboard Skills document. And that actually opens this document up. Now we can do a lot of different things with the keyboard that will be easy for you to see using a word processing document. And we'll start off by using the arrow keys, the set of 4 keys between the 10 keypad and the main set of keys on your keyboard. You'll notice that right now there's a blinking cursor, a blinking vertical line before the W in Welcome to the World of Personal Computing. I'm going to walk you through the keys that I'm pressing to show you how I can move the cursor. If I press my right arrow once, twice, 3 times, you'll see that every time I press the right arrow key, it moves over 1 character. Likewise, if I press the left arrow once, twice, and 3 times, it moves the cursor back to the left, 1 character at a time. If I press the down arrow, that moves me down 1 line at a time. So I'm pressing it down once, twice, 3 times, and again I've moved down 3 lines, and the same would happen if I press the up arrow 2 times. Now let's move up to the set of 6 keys that are above the arrow keys. Remember that we have and an end key. Notice that my cursor is now blinking about 1/3 of the way across the first line of text. If I press Home, which I'm doing now, it moves my cursor to the beginning of that line. And if I press End, it moves the cursor to the end of that line. So this is much faster than going left, 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 left for however many characters there happens to be. Home will move it to the beginning, move it to the end, and then you can use the arrow keys if you want to move 1 or 2 characters in the other direction. I'm going to press my down arrow 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and also press End to make sure that I am at the end of the last line of text. My computer might ding at me to let me know that it's currently at the end of the document, and even though I pressed the End key, it can't move any further. Now I'm going to press the Enter or Return key, which is going to force it to move to a new line. And if I press Enter 1 more time, it will force yet another line. Now I'm going to move to the left side of my keyboard and find the Tab key. The Tab key can do a variety of things, but in word processing, it moves your cursor across the page. So I'm going to press Tab once, twice, 3 times. What you'll notice is that it's basically moving 1/2 of an inch at a time. So if you were trying to indent the first line of a paragraph, or if you wanted to offset type by having it in further than the left margin of the document, the Tab key can help you do that. Remember, the Tab key also does special things, for example, if you're working in a form. In that case, the Tab key will move you from one field to the next field instead of having to click with your mouse and then moving your hands back to the keyboard to continue to type. Now I'm going to use the numbers on my keypad. If I simply press 1, 2, 3, we can see that it types those letters. But now I'm going to press the num lock or the numbers lock key. Currently, my computer has the number lock on. That's why I'm able to type these digits. But if I press the num lock key, that will turn it off. And now if I press, for example, the number 8 key, that's the same as using the up key, because instead of being a 10 key, it's now simply moving the cursor. So remember, if it's not behaving the way that you want, usually that means not typing numbers, you probably just need to press your num lock key. On some keyboards, there will be a special light that will show you when the number lock is on, or it may actually show up somewhere on your operating system or your window. For example, in Microsoft Word, NUM will appear in the status bar to show you that your number lock is on. Now I want to show you one of my special keys. And remember, I've been talking a little bit about the key combination called Control P. I'm going to go ahead and press and hold the Control key, and then press the letter P on my keyboard. And this is displaying the print dialog box. There are a few other ways I could have brought this up, which we'll talk about in later chapters, but this is one of my favorite keyboard shortcuts, because when I'm typing along, I can very quickly press some key combinations to do several things very quickly. For example, I might do Control S, Control P, Enter. Control S saves my document, Control P prints my document, and then pressing Enter is the same as clicking on the Print button, and that actually sends it off to print. You have to trust me when I say that's a lot faster than moving my hand to my mouse, going to the File menu, coming down and clicking Save, clicking back on the File menu, clicking on Print, and then moving my mouse to the Print key, pressing that button, and being done. Key combinations can often be much faster than using the mouse. It doesn't matter to me which ones you use because they all do the same thing. I think you'll just find eventually that it's faster and more efficient to use keyboard shortcuts when they're available. One of those keyboard shortcuts that I want to show you now is the last key we talked about when we looked at the keyboard itself on screen, and that is the Escape key. The Escape key is often the default, or the same as pressing Cancel. We have a Cancel button on the bottom of this window, and I could click on it to close the box without printing. But I can also press Escape, which I'll do now. That makes it go away, which is perfect. And now you've seen a little bit about how your keyboard can work within a word processing document. I'm going to move over to the right side of this window and do a single left click on the red X to close it out. Since I've added some changes, I am not going to save these changes. So I'm going to do a single left click on the button that says Don't Save. Then I will also close out the folder by clicking on the red X on the top right side of its window. Before we finish up though, I promised I would show you an example of an on-screen keyboard. So I'm going to click on my Start button. If you're using Windows Vista or Windows 7, you'll be able to do exactly the same thing I am. If you're using Windows XP, this option isn't available, at least not quite as easily. So let me just demonstrate it to you here. I'm going to type On-Screen Keyboard. Type the whole thing, and on-screen keyboard is displayed at the top, so I will press Enter, which is the same as clicking the highlighted option. This is an example of an on-screen keyboard that comes with Windows Vista. Technically, this is part of the accessibility, so for people who may not be able to use a regular keyboard, they may be able to use the on-screen keyboard instead. I could use my mouse to click on these keys, or I could simply press the equivalent key on my keyboard. The point is that this is what you might see on a lot of mobile devices or things that have touch screens. These are the type of variations that you'll see a lot of. Now, if this isn't the issue, the ability to type on a keyboard, then maybe your issue could be just typing itself. Well, that's not exactly what this class is about, but let me make a quick recommendation. If you need some typing help, there are some free typing tutorials you can find on the internet by simply searching for free typing tutorial. There's also some software that's been around for forever, and while I usually don't make specific recommendations, this one I will. It's called Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing. And it's the equivalent of the old keyboarding classes or typing classes that some of you may have taken in the past. It takes you through some drills and just lets you practice and get more efficient at typing. In my opinion, though, the best thing that you can do is to simply start using your computer. You have to trust me that when you just start using it, very quickly you will get much faster and much more proficient at your typing skills. But regardless, now you're familiar with what keyboards do, what some of the different regions or areas of keys are, and even seen some examples of how you can use them on your computer.